Chapter 10, Mishnah 5. We have learned that if one person did just the first part of a malacha and another person did the second half, both are exempt from liability. Mishnah's chapter 1, Mishnah 1, and chapter 10, Mishnah 2. This Mishnah teaches the law regarding two people who perform an entire malacha together from beginning to end. One who transfers a loaf of bread from a private domain to a public domain is liable because he did the entire malacha himself. But if two people transferred it together, both are exempt because neither performed the entire malacha on its own. However, if one person cannot transfer it by himself, for example because it is too heavy, and two people transferred it together, they are both liable, because in this case each is viewed as though he performed the entire malacha. But Rabbi Shimon exempts them here as well, because the reality is that neither did the entire malacha. The Mishnah now deals with the case of a single person who carries the item not by itself, but in a container. If one transfers less than the minimum amount of food, i.e. less than the minimum that renders one liable for transferring in a vessel, he is exempt not only for carrying the food, but even for carrying the vessel, because the vessel is secondary to the food. Since he is using the container only to hold the food, it has no independent significance. Likewise, if one transfers a live person on a bed, he is exempt not only for carrying the person, in view of the rule that a living person carries himself, but even for carrying the bed, because the bed is secondary to the person. However, one who transfers a corpse on a bed is liable, because a corpse does not carry itself. This ruling applies even if his purpose is transferring the corpse, even if his purpose in transferring the corpse was the purely negative one of removing it from his house, e.g. because he transmits tumah, and its new location is of no interest to him. Despite his lack of positive, constructive intent, he is still liable. And the same law applies where one removes any item from his house in order to be rid of it, e.g. because it transmits tumah, including an olive's volume of a corpse, an olive's volume of a dead animal, and a lentil's volume of the carcass of one of the 8 species of creeping animals that transmit tumah when dead. In all of these cases, he is liable, even though his purpose was negative. The next Tana disagrees in regards to transferring an item only for the sake of removing it from its original place. But Rabbi Shimon exempts one who transfers all or part of a dead person or animal from his house, because in his view there is no liability for taking something out of one's house only to be rid of it. Since the transfer was done for a purely negative purpose, it does not count as malacha.